Hello, brothers. This is Patrick Sullivan with you again for One Small House. I just got back from a retreat happening in the Archdiocese of Montreal for men, and I really wanted to share a couple things that came up because I think they're important for you and I, especially as men of God, and especially for those of us who have spouses, wives, or are entering into that marriage state slowly but surely. You know, you're courting someone, or maybe you already have a fiance. Well, one of the participants, a young man actually, he said to me, Patrick, can you help me with something? I want to know how it is I'm to respond to the question that I'm now getting from my fiance. And I said, well, what's the question? He said, well, she wants me to be more open with her. And so I asked, of course, well, what's wrong with that? What do you think? He said, well, I want to be, but I'm afraid that if I share with her what's on my heart, if I really let her into my world, then it's going to scandalize her. It's going to scare her. And of course, as the conversation moved on, he made it very clear that what he thought this woman was asking him to share was basically about the sinful thoughts, the inclinations, the concupiscence, those terrible things that go through us men on a daily basis or weekly basis, the things we battle with. He thought maybe this is what she wants and needs from him. Well, brothers, I can tell you after many years of being a spiritual director for quite a few individuals, from reading what I've read, from doing what I do, this is not, first of all, what women are actually intending to interpret or say to us. And it's certainly not what we should be giving to them. Let me share a story to illustrate this. Many years ago now, man, I would say in his 30s, somewhere around there, he came to me and he was quite distraught because his relationship, which seemed to be a very good one, a very solid one, built on Christ, mutual respect, well, they had learned from some psychologist friends that they need to be, again, more open with each other, dialogue and all these sorts of things. To the point where this one psychologist friend basically said, you need to tell them if you're having evil inclinations. You need to tell them about those thoughts going through your head and the imagery and the places you visit on the internet and so on. Well, this man in his 30s took that advice and he started to share while I was doing sinful things again. I was looking at sinful things again. Well, it didn't take very long, not even a few months. And again, this was a rock solid relationship. It didn't take very long before that relationship crumbled and just fell to the side. And the question is, why? What happened? Well, I can tell you what happened. This is where we mistake a few things. We have a mistaken notion about what it means to be the masculine in a great dynamic, that relationship, that dance of the divine. And, you know, this is the theology of the body. This is John Paul II's love and responsibility. There's a complementarity of the sexes, but if we don't know what that means, we're going to run in trouble. And that's certainly what happened with this man many years ago. So what do I suggest to you? What did I suggest to this young man who asked me at the men's retreat? It's simply this, that you and I have a role as men to hold back the world of the masculine from the feminine in our lives. We have a responsibility, and this is where the complementarity comes in a little bit, that she holds back the feminine, the worst of what is feminine in the feminine world from me, and I hold back the worst of the masculine from her. So do I share, moments where I've conquered this or that? Absolutely. Do I share my sorrows, the things I'm working on but I'm struggling with and I'm having a hard time with, maybe my career, maybe it's my school, maybe I'm struggling to understand a relationship? Do I share those frustrations with her? Absolutely. But what I do not share, what I should never be sharing, are those thoughts, those images, those impulses, those cravings. Right? The urge, John Paul II will call it. We don't share that with the feminine. Why? Because, well, first of all, we are not always in control of the thoughts and images that come into our mind. You may have noticed this, especially if you've been around the block and you've had many years under your belt. You realize that a lot of the thoughts and images coming through your head are not you. They're not coming from you. And again, we know this as Catholics. We know that the angelic can put words across a screen in our mind. They can put images there, but they can't read what is there. They can't read our minds. They can't read our thoughts. But they can certainly suggest things. They can certainly put ideas and images across our mind's eye. And that's so important to remember, brothers. Because if you have a word or a phrase or an image, an idea coming into your thought process, and it does not feel like you need to get rid of it right away. Maybe that's part of the problem, is sometimes, after some time, we start to believe that these thoughts actually are us. They're not. Should I be sharing those sinister thoughts with my beloved? Absolutely not. We hold back what is all wrong and twisted about the masculine in our world today, the things that you and I, do battle with on a daily basis. And guess what? The feminine in our life, the women in our lives, those women of Christ, do the same for us. They do not and should not share the worst of femininity with us. Why? Because we don't understand it. We can't handle it. Unless you yourself are a trained spiritual director, have many years in something similar, it's going to be quite scandalous to you. So back to that question, what does the woman in our life, what did the woman in this young man's life mean when she says, be more open with me? Well, quite frankly, it's something as simple as this. Can you share your feelings? Can you give me the reasons why you're feeling a certain way? Can you remember me when you have a decision-making process started? Can I be a part of that process? Can you show me that I'm an integral and important part of your life? Not just when you're feeling good, but also when you're feeling down. Not just when things are going quite well, but when things are going quite badly. Can you make sure that I get to sit with you and walk this life with you? That's what they're getting at. And if you give the woman in your life, that Eve that God has given you, if you give them that all, this is wonderful. You're going to see friendship blossom, especially in marriage. Remember, it's essential for a good and happy, holy marriage to have friendship. Well, you'll have that if you start opening up in that way. But when it comes to the sinister, when it comes to those thoughts, those places your mind has gone, even the things you've done, you need to get your bum to confession for. No, leave that between you, the Lord, your confessor, and maybe one of your brothers who's also seeking to be a saint. Brothers, hold back what is the worst of the masculine from them. It's part of our duty. And when we do that, when we hold all back for the sake of them, good things can happen. All right, brothers, that's enough from me. This is Patrick Sullivan, Catholic Lay Evangelist, and this is our monthly One Small House.